Upon the creation of the world, the great creator of many worlds, some which are great, thriving with life, and some are just fallen wastelands, he decided to bless the three races with resources. This was the result of the creator learning from his past mistakes, which caused a tremendous loss of life by giving them this gift. The humans, the elves, and the dwarfs lived in peace. No war has ever occurred on the lands of Congolia. The only reason weapons are still made are just for the love of the sport, and for use against dangerous animals. All of the three races are great friends with each other. They trade food, nudes, and much more. They all have their kingdom on the island of Congolia. They also claimed a few islands not so far from the mainland's coast. The elves agreed to take a very small portion of the islands, since their kingdom on the mainland is the biggest one. And also they don't like leaving the island of Congolia, because they're quite introverted. Yeah, this is Congolia, where everyone lives in peace. An earthquake is heard and physically felt by thousands of residents of the island of Congolia. Many people left their house in order to check, is this the end? What in the god's name is happening? Many beautiful sensations, many beautiful meals, and many other daily doings were paused. The geniuses who have studied earthquakes never felt something like this before. It was physically impossible for an earthquake this bad to be happening. Suddenly, many thunderclouds made their way across the island, and a giant thunderstrike was seen targeting the island's resource source. Suddenly, a very loud bang was heard. And it wasn't from Taco Bell this time. Through hundreds of years, only 3 pillars existed at the resource source. Now the 4th pillar is visible. Suddenly the earthquake gets worse, and everything gets blacked out into blackness. When the light came back, everything seemed normal. The earthquake has stopped. But suddenly, the sound of ringing bells is heard all around Congolia. It was reported blood was shed on one of the coastal islands. After the battle, even though the enemy fled, a corpse was found. Many corpses were found, but this one stood out to them. It was green. After many hours of research, they discovered that it wasn't a human. It wasn't a dwarf or an elf. The creature was considered a monster because of its facial features, extremely masculine figure, and the BGC. The next day, people noticed a huge island in the southern region of the map. A human division was sent to investigate the island, but they never came back. Mombos, the king of humans, was severely concerned at the amount of dead in the last few days. All of a sudden, bells ring again. More of what are known as monsters. They invaded the elfin district. The ugly green creatures weren't a match for elves. An entire coastal city was destroyed in a matter of hours after the invasion. After 6 hours of war, roughly 40% of the elfin population was deceased. After realizing how serious the situation is, the 3 races formed the Congolian alliance. This was a proper war. All the divisions were ready to attack. Even though these men were trained, they were never trained to fight people / humanoid beings. Despite their good equipment, none of them actually knew how to fight. But they all tried their best, and they managed to fight off the enemy. This was a bloody war nobody ever expected. 3 cities have fallen in a period of 2 days. All of the 3 races stayed on guard, since they're always expecting war. Back in the past, the Kirai were exploited by the Supreme Cultural Alliance. The Kirai had the largest population out of all the kingdoms, but all of their resources and weapons were confiscated due to the belief that the Kirai kingdom wasn't worthy of living in luxury. The exploitation went on for years. Whoever tried to riot or make a change was executed. In the capital city of Kirai, Congolia, lived a young orc with his grandfather. The worker program, which was in control of all of the forced labor, wasn't aware of the young orc. His parents were taken to work on the construction of cities for the Sage clan, which was a human kingdom. The Kirai considered themselves a kingdom, but in reality, because the Supreme Cultural Alliance refused to claim it, due to the belief that it was extremely filthy, often considered a wasteland because it was occupied by orcs. One day, Lori and his grandfather, Timult, were talking about if there was a future for the Kirai. Will they ever be free and allowed to live in peace? Suddenly, a loud banging at their door was heard, and 3 humans came in. They said, "We were never reported there was a child here. How dare you lie to us? How dare you disrespect us?" They approached the boy until they were obliterated by Timult. One of them got away and started shouting for help. Timult, knowing this was the end, decided to sacrifice himself. Not in a way you would expect. Suddenly everything got darker. This was the only way he could imagine for his grandson and everyone else in Kirai could gain their freedom. He knew about the spell for years, but the person who ever used the spell always died, and never knew if they cast the spell properly or not. He didn't want to give up his life for nothing, since his grandson would eventually get enslaved or killed if he died, if he disappeared. A lot of lightning is seen around the lands of Kirai. Suddenly, the kingdom separated from the Supreme Cultural Alliance. Many people got trapped between the separation point of the landmass, which resulted in death. After a few minutes, it was gone, nowhere to be seen. The Supreme Cultural Alliance was left in shock and fear after what has just occurred. The Kirai managed to kill off all soldiers who were patrolling their lands. It was also revealed that some groups were making and stealing armor and weapons. They saw islands off the coast of their island, thinking it was the Supreme Cultural Alliance. They realized that their guard was down and decided to attack. After the invasion of the Elfin Kingdom, life on the island of Congolia was different than it used to be. People didn't laugh anymore. Many people lost their homes in the invasion and were left homeless. In the Kirai Kingdom, the orcs celebrated their victory. But to some, something seemed off. The Supreme Cultural Alliance always had a bunch of soldiers on patrol. This time, no one was prepared for war. And the arrival of the allies was also delayed. With time, more and more orcs started talking about if the people they killed were the same, people that used to exploit them for years. There wasn't much planning for the invasion. They managed to find a weak spot and took advantage of it, attacking the innocent. They sent a messenger to explain the situation and to arrange a meeting with the hierarchy. The Congolian alliance agreed to the meeting, all in order to protect their people. After a very long discussion, filled with rage from the Elfin Queen and the other two participants, their view slowly started to change. Suddenly, an old elf and dwarf barges into the conference hall. Before anyone got to say anything, he was asking if Timolt was still alive. Few seconds into the silence, the leader of Kirai said, "I don't know anyone by the name of Timolt." The elf and dwarf started crying. Not long after that, he was arrested by the Congolian guard force for trespassing. The Elfin Queen was still disgusted by the orcs for the unrecoverable damage they have done to the Elfin Kingdom. She then left, thanking all the members of the alliance for the meeting, and nothing more than a cold look for the leader of Kirai. As of now, the Congolian alliance signed a peace treaty with the Kirai to promise to never declare war at each other. The residents of Congolia still live in fear. A lot of them do believe that the orcs didn't attack us for no reason. Everything said in the conference was made public. Many people just don't know what to think about this. Randomly, a giant island just appeared out of nowhere. They got told there are other kingdoms out there. Nobody even knows how this island got here. Everybody has so many questions but so little answers. Few days later, the Orc Kingdom started to help the elves rebuild. They provided them with resources sourced on the island of the Kirai. Mombas was looking at an updated map of the world. The Kirai gave them all of the information on all of the villages, etc. And then he realized the capital city is called Congolia. He feels as if there's a presence in the room. He again gets surprised by the trespasser. It was the elf and dwarf from before, and he said, "I need to explain a lot to you."